There's a lot to talk about with these two episodes. Because they released on the same day, I'll just be doing one big review, like I did with the premiere. Since they're the mid-season finale, I expected these episodes to be good, but I was surprised at how much I enjoyed these two episodes today. Not only did they feature a lot of aspects from the Clone Wars series, like the Senate Chamber, former Senator Bertoni, the Venators, and the Clone Bar, which was a delightful surprise, but overall the episodes just really feel like something out of the Clone Wars series, between the political focus and the sneaking around. I loved spending so much time on Coruscant in these episodes. Not only is it familiar and fleshed out to us fans, but it's also such a complex and layered setting that really fits the vibe of the series. We spend a lot of time in the lower levels or the shipyards, and of course the Senate, but none of it feels as bright or peaceful as it was during the Republic. The overall tone and hue is made to be much darker, which I think is a testament to how good the animation is for the series, something that really stood out to me this week. I mentioned the Clone Bar already, but I loved opening on that location because the instant focus on the clones really helped get me going for the episode, and got me excited for what was coming. I initially thought that Slip and Cade were two clones we already knew, but I wasn't that disappointed when we found out their names are new ones. The decision to have a random clone be an assassin was an interesting one, and serves the purpose in the story while also showing the two extremes of clones, one who is willing to kill his brothers and the other one who wants to do the right thing and betray the Empire. But I was really hoping that the shooter was going to be Crosshair. As much as I loved this first episode, it almost felt too disjointed from the rest of the series, which I know is being nitpicky, but for the third episode with Cody, we at least still had Crosshair playing a major role in it. I'm really looking forward to the next time we see Cody or Crosshair, but at this point it's been 5 episodes, and I really do want a continuation of their story, especially because of where it left off. Anyways, this episode felt really separated as I was watching it, but once I got into the second episode and they started to tie together, I had no problems whatsoever, and it made me glad that they did this 2-part mid-season finale because these 2 episodes work really well together. We did get a little bit of action in the opening scene, and while I enjoyed almost all of the action sequences in these episodes, I don't know if there were any that stood out as amazing. While I don't have time to touch on every single instance, I did really enjoy the decision to have Rampart's message with the assassin immediately precede Slip and Chuchi in the alleyways, because it did so much to add tension to the scene, knowing that the person was out there somewhere intending to shoot not just Slip, but everyone there. Speaking of which, I was excited when Senator Chuchi initially appeared as a familiar face in the Senate, but I didn't expect for her to have such a big role. She basically takes up the Padme role for an episode like this, and while we don't learn too much about her character beyond what we've already seen, we do see just how good of a person she is, and how she is one of the few to care about the clones as people. And she had a line about how doing a good thing has become an act that causes a stir, and it reminded me a lot of what we saw from Mon Mothma in Andor. I was really hoping she'd make an appearance here given how closely her and Organa work together, but it wasn't something I needed, and I'm glad it wasn't done just for the sake of a cameo. We get a lot of the Senate in these episodes, and while there wasn't anything special about most of the scenes, there is one point that I want to touch on. During the first meeting, we see it's mentioned how Palpatine is absent and absent often, and while it didn't mean too much to me at the time, as we continually go back and it's still Mas Amedda alone in the pod, it was subconsciously reinforced in me that Palpatine never really shows up to these pointless meetings, which we know is true from other stories. But even though we knew he was going to appear later on after the Kamino footage has played, seeing him rise up and knowing how important his presence is, and what many of the senators must have been feeling seeing the Emperor finally appear because of this important matter, I could feel the weight of the presence, and it gave me chills for the entire scene. I'm so glad he hasn't been overused in the series, because it adds so much more to whenever he does show up. Rex comes in near the end of the first episode, and it was nice seeing him back. Him being a resource to some of the clones in the Empire is interesting, and it does make me wonder if he approaches some of them, or if those who are having second thoughts have to seek out someone with information about him. Even though he is a familiar character, he never felt like he overshadowed any of the main characters, and with him and Echo now on their own, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them go and find Cody, who has recently gone AWOL. I don't want to get my hopes up too much, but that would be a dream come true for many fans. Rampart was another character with a big role in these episodes, and I'm very conflicted over him. There were times when he felt like a very detailed and cunning villain, and at other times he felt like just another useless Imperial. I would have liked to learn a little more about him as a person, but at this point I don't think it matters because we may never see him again. Initially, I didn't like how he was taken out, but once I had time to think about it, I do like how it shows how expendable many of the Imperials below Palpatine are, and how they are just being used in his grand scheme to get his way. They think they're winning and that they're invincible, but in one quick moment they can be made disposable and worthless. This does make me interested to see who will now act as the main villain, so to speak, for the rest of the season. I doubt it'll be Palpatine, and while it could be Crosshair, we haven't seen him in a while, and the last time we did it looked like maybe he was starting to have some doubts about his role, so I don't see him being the new big bad. The second episode focused a lot on the Bad Batch, and I was surprised at how much I enjoyed them here. I don't know if there's some visible developments, or if they were just written in a different style as the season has progressed, but I think I am enjoying them as characters much more than in the first season. The action with the Batch was pretty good, but I really enjoyed the focus on Omega. We get to see a lot of emotion from her in this episode, and her following Chuchi around the Senate instantly reminded me of Padme and Ahsoka. I don't know if we'll see them together again, but they did make for a fun pair. Even though I got worried when Omega started bringing up details during the meeting with Bertoni, like how she's a clone and all, I really started to see the growth she had gone through. Especially in the past few episodes, she's really become much more capable and mature than before, and I think it makes it much easier to watch. And then, of course, the big ending. For months I'd been telling myself the reason I haven't been enjoying the show as much as other fans was because I just don't care about the characters as much, but this ending might have possibly been the first time I felt a strong emotion in regard to the characters. Echo's decision to step away from the group and help clones with Rex makes complete sense. He was never into the life of odd jobs here and there to get paid. He wants to help others, and right now this is how he can do it. But him choosing to leave, and Omega's reaction to the information, actually made me quite emotional, because Echo is one of those clones who we've been with for a while. I'm sure him and Rex will show up later in the season, and we may even get an episode focusing solely on them, but his absence from the batch is definitely something I expect to feel come next week, and I'm interested to see how each person deals with his absence, both as a brother and an asset. The Bad Batch Season 2 mid-season finale brings together a cast of familiar characters in a story full of political deception and peril, earning a rating of 9 out of 10. Let me know what you thought of the 2 episodes in the comments below. Remember to like the video, and subscribe for more reviews like this, and remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you all for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you. Always.